launched a thermonuclear ballistic missile, a Trident missile, over the Los Angeles area, just off the coast of Orange County. And as usual, everything you're being told about this by the mainstream media is a complete fabrication, because of course the mainstream media is staffed by puppets, propagandists, who know nothing, first of all, of international geopolitics, military weaponry, or the covert warfare that's going on between the United States, China, and Russia. And secondly, they are propagandists who are told what to write every day by the government. So one thing the United States and China have in common is that journalists, so-called journalists, what a mockery of journalism, but so-called journalists who work in both countries are simply ordered every day what to write by the government. So China has a state-run media, and the United States has state-run media as well. So nothing that you're going to get from those folks is going to tell you the truth. But let's get to what we do know. And I will quote the mainstream media to quote the cover story, and then I'll tell you what's really happening and why this matters. And as they say in the Terminator, if you want to live through what's coming, come with me. You need to understand what's going on, because this is the run-up to World War III. This is the escalation, and there is a very specific reason why the U.S. Navy fired a thermonuclear ballistic missile in view of the entire population of Los Angeles. It is not an accident. You can't possibly believe that there's no other place on the freaking planet where they could test a missile covertly if they wanted to. They have the entire Pacific Ocean. Come on. They have the entire Nevada desert. They wanted people to see this. It's deliberate, and there's a reason why, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So welcome to the Health Ranger Report. My name is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, here on TalkNetwork.com. This is a special report based on the Trident missile launch. Let's go into, I'm going to quote quite a bit from an article that I already wrote on naturalnews.com. You can go there to check this out and see the links for yourself. But I'm going to go through this because I've documented this quite extensively. A mysterious bright light in the sky has sent Californians into panic, reports the BBC. And everybody posted videos, bright flares rising high before a wide, bright blue flash emerges into a cone shape. And people thought it was a meteor or a nuclear missile attack, or some people thought it was aliens. And according to the San Diego Union Tribune, law agencies and news media in San Diego were flooded with calls from about 6 p.m. People reporting everything that was happening in the western sky over the Pacific. Now, just a day earlier, the FAA had issued a flight restriction. It was highly unusual to restrict the approaches to the Los Angeles International Airport. The FAA literally shut that down for an entire week, which is very, very inconvenient to commercial and private aviation traffic. They did that obviously to make room for this planned demonstration by the U.S. Navy. The fact that the FAA's flight restrictions are for 7 days is an indication, but not proof, that there may be more tests yet to come. Now, what do we know? We know that something was in the sky. Technically, because we know the government's official story is always a lie, we know that it's not a test. Now, the official story is that, this was a routine test by the U.S. Navy, who says, we just routinely launched $31 million Trident missiles just to see if they work. That's nonsense. Number one, you don't need to launch it near a populated area and shut down air traffic to the Los Angeles airport. All right. Number two, we don't know if it's armed or unarmed. Number three, we don't know where it landed or what it hit. This may have actually been, I'm not saying this is what it is, but theoretically, this could have been the Navy actually launching a missile to strike a Chinese warship in the Pacific Ocean. It may have succeeded. It may have destroyed that warship. We may be at war, and no one's telling us. Again, I'm not saying that that's happened. I'm just saying it could happen, and we may know nothing about it. Because you don't know where that missile landed, right? Do you? Were you there? Of course not. You don't even really know if it was a Trident missile, do you? You don't even know if it was a U.S. missile. Suppose a Chinese submarine got really close to the Pacific coast there to Los Angeles, and the Chinese launched a missile over L.A. as a warning sign, as a threat to the United States. And so the United States just took credit for it, said, no, that was our missile, in order to prevent the public from freaking out. Again, I'm not saying that's what happened, so don't call me a conspiracy theorist on this. I'm saying it's a possibility. You don't know. Can you read the name Trident on the side of that missile? I don't think so. Did you see where it launched from? Nope, you didn't. Did you see where it landed? Of course not. Do you have the telemetric data from the launch? Do you know exactly its flight path, altitude, heading, all that? No, you don't know any of that stuff. And if you thought you knew, it's only because the Navy gave you the information they wanted you to see, period. You have no clue what's really going on here, other than we all saw some crazy missile-looking thing streaking across the sky near Los Angeles. That's all we know. The rest is probably nonsense. I should say the rest that's in the mainstream media. Now, let me tell you what is the most likely truth behind all of this, the story that the mainstream media won't tell you. Number one, they're too stupid to know any of this. Number two, they wouldn't tell you anyway because they've never been ordered to tell you this by the White House. Don't think of the mainstream media as being journalists. They are propagandist puppets, period. That's it. That's all they do. If you want the real news on this, you have to go to the real alternative news. So number one, you can search in real time on this at my search engine that I created to search the independent media. It's called goodgopher.com. Just go to goodgopher.com and you can search this in real time. That search engine favors not only independent media, but the most recent posts from independent media. So if you type in Trident missile Los Angeles in goodgopher.com, you're going to get the most recent stories from across the independent media. That's the media that is not corporate controlled. So you're more likely to get the truth there instead of from the mainstream media. Secondly, you can monitor alternativenews.com, which is a real-time news aggregation system that I also built that features real-time breaking stories from across a large network of websites, including national security.news, cyberwar.news, bugout.news, space.news, which covers space weapons, and also glitch.news, which covers EMP attacks, and collapse.news, which covers the coming collapse of the U.S. economy for debt reasons, economic reasons, which may or may not be related to this specific event. I'm just sharing that domain with you. All right, let's go on. From the story on naturalnews.com, China's military submarines are a huge threat to U.S. national security. Almost no one in the mainstream media is reporting this. In fact, I haven't seen this cited really anywhere in relation to this Trident missile launch. There is a report from the Congressional Research Service authored by Ronald O'Rourke. He's a specialist in naval affairs. It was released on September 21st of this year, and it's entitled China Naval Modernization, Implications for U.S. Navy Capabilities. I'm not going to read you this report, obviously it's too long, but the upshot is that China is expanding its military, its Navy, with incredible capabilities, including what's called an ASBM, which is an anti-ship ballistic missile, ASBM. This was just deployed in 2010, and this missile is referred to as the DF-21D. It has a range of about 1,500 kilometers, and it can destroy U.S. aircraft carriers. It can destroy our destroyers. It can destroy all kinds of targets on the sea and on land. So it has a very wide range, and it is very, very deadly. This is part of China's increasing escalation of its military capabilities in the Pacific. This is all headed for a conflict with the United States military. That's why this is headed for World War III. Now, in August of this year, the Chinese and the Russians held a large naval joint exercise, the largest one in history. And this was reported by John Dougherty at collapse.news, that the Russian and Chinese navies are set to hold the largest joint exercise ever, featuring scores of warships, hundreds of troops, and an amphibious landing. You got that? An amphibious landing. That means troops landing on beaches, okay? Don't forget D-Day. Now, this appears to be a deepening of ties meant to counter a rising U.S. military presence in Asia. Now, this is China and Russia publicly sending a message that says we are cooperating, China and Russia. We are working together. We have a powerful navy, and we can invade your land. All right, that's the message sent by China. Now then, fast forward to September of this year. Chinese warships spotted operating near the coast of Alaska. And this is on top of Russian bombers spotted doing practice runs over Alaska as well. I didn't even include that in the story. I probably should add that. But the Chinese warships, this has been reported in the Wall Street Journal, in Fox News, and all across the mainstream media. 5 Chinese warships spotted off the Alaska coast in the Bering Sea off of Alaska. Now, that was, of course, a test of the U.S. territorial protection. China was trying to see, will this provoke the United States to defend its territory? In response to that, the U.S. Navy sent the USS Lassen destroyer to cruise within 12 nautical miles of China's newly constructed military bases in the Spratly Islands. Now, if you don't know anything about the Spratly Islands, they are the disputed islands in the territory far off the coast of China. And these islands the ownership of these islands has been disputed by many different nations, I think at different times. China, Taiwan, Russia, and Japan have all had different claims on these islands. And right now, China is trying to control them because they are ideally situated as tactical military bases. And satellite imagery shows that China is building airfields, airstrips, for military use on these bases, on these islands, which they're building up. They've dumped enormous quantities of material there to build up the reefs and turn them into military airstrips from which they can bomb Taiwan or Japan or lots of different areas, or even conduct operations against U.S. ships in the Pacific theater of operations. So China did not like this, obviously, and claimed that this was a violation of its airspace and territorial waters, and that China would not allow this to take place. I'll be right back after this. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Health Ranger Report. Please support us by visiting our online store at store.naturalnews.com, where you can find the world's cleanest, laboratory-validated superfoods, nutritional supplements, personal care products, shampoo, chemical-free products, just about everything for your home and body and health that you might want, including supplements for your pets as well. Everything is laboratory-validated in our forensic food lab, and we don't sell something unless it tests clean. I think we're the only online reseller to do this really extensive testing of everything that we sell. If we don't like the lab test results, meaning if it's not really, really clean, including with heavy metals, then we don't sell it, period. We have free shipping on orders over $99 and a satisfaction guarantee on everything that we offer. So check us out now at store.naturalnews.com, and thank you for your support.